Hi everybody, thank you very much for coming along tonight to Connect, Collaborate, Converse with Global Landcare in Sydney. This is our very first Global Landcare face-to-face event ever. So we are very excited to be here tonight. We're very excited to have all our friends and some of our board members here with us tonight to enjoy this very special occasion. And there'll be a number of speakers tonight to go through the process of why we're here tonight to launch this fabulous book that we've got. My name's Andrea Mason. I'm Chair of Global Landcare, first Chair of Global Landcare, I'm very, very proud to say. And we're meeting here tonight on the land of the Gadigal people, the Eora people. First Nations people from around Australia. It's traditional in Australia to pay respects to the traditional owners, but as a global nation, global organisation, we also like to acknowledge elders past, present and emerging in the communities across the globe on which we work, collaborate and meet. So thank you all for coming. We have a couple of notable apologies tonight. Because this is running up to the National Landcare Conference tomorrow, there's a lot of people flying in tonight and tomorrow who couldn't make it. The most senior, I suppose, of those who have sent apologies is Senator Perrin Davey and Senator Raf Ciccone, who are parliamentary friends of Landcare. They will be at the dinner at the conference, so we're hoping to catch up with them tonight. We were very fortunate that ACIAR has supported us in bringing some international delegates to the conference. And I have to put an enormous thank you out to Rob Yule, who has pretty much worked full time from bringing this off. Unfortunately, two of those delegates weren't able to make it. We couldn't get their visas through in time. Awa Chamange from Uganda, who's one of the Global Landcare board members, and Mubarak Yubak from Pakistan, who is also a Global Landcare board member, weren't able to join us tonight. We have apologies from some of our other Global Landcare board members who aren't coming to Sydney: Belinda Brennan, Phil Horner, Liddy Neville, Joy Tukahua, Tanvir Hossain, Dennis Garrity, Mika Bourne and Simon Younger. They are all board members. Francis Stein from South Africa sent best wishes. Shang Fuan is from Philippines, couldn't make it. Mary Johnson from RMIT, and those two will be at the conference. Patrick O'Connor from the National Landcare Network sent his apologies, and Keith Bradbury from the National Landcare Network and Gondwana Link. I'd also like to thank the sponsors for tonight's evening. Now, there's a lot of sponsors at a lot of different levels that make a book and an event like this come about. So I'm going to thank our sponsors for tonight's event that enabled us to meet here at Sappho's tonight. So Queensland Water and Land Carers, their chair Mary Lou's here tonight. Mary? Thank you very much. Future Queensland, so Pamela's here tonight as well. And the New Zealand Landcare Trust, Nick Edgar's here also as well tonight. As I said, it's our very first Global Landcare face-to-face event, and I'd just like to ask the present board members to put their hands up and give a bit of a yell out so people know who you are, and I hope you all catch up.
Go on, out the front. You need to take a photo. Up the front.
Well, you might. Come on. So we've got Clinton, Pamela, Nick from New Zealand, Solo. We've got Solo.
Oh, Daryl, come on.
So Solo is one of our funded delegates and a Global Landcare board member. Rob Yule. Come on, you have to get in this photo, Rob.
That shirt has got to be.
Black and white, please.
Excuse me, Kaz, but you cannot hang back up there. Just because you're from Japan doesn't mean you can go all shy.
Come on,
Come on
Kaz.
down here. Got Daryl from Queensland. Is that all of you?
We need a bunch of mums.
Well, this wasn't part of the agenda, but anyway, it's looking good.
We're flexible, we're agile.
Which Pantone is my shirt? $9,999.
Bloody bright.
You've got a halo over the lot of you.
Oh,
I know,
terrific.
it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'd like you to spend time tonight, if you can, catching up with Zolo from Fiji. We also have Aloisi from Fiji, who is one of our funded recipients, and Leo is from Timor-Leste. He's one of our funded delegates as well. Take time over the next few days, if you are coming to the conference, to talk to them and see just how successful Landcare is as a concept across the globe, and something that we're very excited about, something that we hope this book will help explain to the rest of the world, and something that we hope can be adopted a lot more than in the 25 countries or so that have been touched by Landcare across the globe to date. So back in November 2017, Australian Landcare International, as it was then, and Professor Michael Seigel from the Nanzan University, who's an Australian, I'll let others talk about them. We held a conference in Nagoya about Landcare and the lessons from Landcare and subsidiarity. Now, there you go. It's taken me 6 years to be able to say subsidiarity, and now I even know what it means, and I love it. It's the most great concept that ever hit the earth, and it's not a new concept, it's just the label that works. And it works in an academic sense, and it's one that governments and others can latch onto and use so that we can explain this crazy phenomenon that we all know and love as Landcare. We know it works, we've always known it works, but we haven't been very good at proving that it works, and we haven't been very good at telling the story across the globe about how effective it is. So this book is going to be key, very, very key to that. At that conference, there were a number of, at the end of the conference, we had 65 delegates from 11 countries, and there were a number of actions at the end of it that came in at the summary session. I'm just going to pick up my laptop to do this. These were the issues or things that needed to be addressed that came from that conference. Global Landcare Organisation, tick. Ongoing global forum. Global Landcare has plans for developing a 2024 Global Landcare Conference somewhere outside of Australia. Very early stages at this stage. And going on the visa applications we've had to do for this lot, it'll be somewhere where their visas are really easy.
New Zealand.
Conference papers and books, evidence base with academic community assistance. Tick, 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 and that's what tonight's about. Brand, ideograph, name, brochure for Global Landcare. Tick, tick, tick. Landcare online and video training. Haven't quite got there yet, but give us time. Still on the agenda. Map the Global Landcare ecosystem. Well, we kind of know where it is, and there was a map that came out of the conference that's up on the website. Systemic Governance and Self-Reliance book. That's part of this book, I think we'd probably say. And a Global Landcare website, tick. So we've ticked them all. That was a pretty good conference. If you can get that many actions that come out of it, and that many actions that have been successfully completed. So I am very excited about tonight. I'm very excited about where we've got to. We're a fledgling organisation. One of the things that was identified at the time of the conference was that there were 3 international organisations working in Landcare. There was Landcare International, which was a communications-based network based out of Nairobi, led by Dennis Garrity, but with no actual structure behind it. There was the Secretariat of International Landcare, which was an Australian-based organisation run by 3 women who had done a great lot of work in the early days, but over time had gone into retirement and so had lost the momentum to carry it on. And there was Australian Landcare International, led by our great Rob Yule, and started with Hori Prasad. And with the small grants program of $500 for Landcare projects overseas, supported by generous donations only, that we managed to scrape up around the things, some training programs that were generously supported through Crawford Fund and ACIAR and some others. But there was that call at the conference for one single global organisation. It took a little while to do the consultation, and many of the board members helped at the time. Australian Landcare International was identified as the organisation that had the governance structures in place, and it was the easiest way to create this thing was to rebrand Australian Landcare International and redo its constitution to create this new organisation. So that's what we did. We now have a board of 17 members who are truly global representations. We were doing Zoom meetings before COVID hit. We were experts at it, and we're even better now. So to run an organisation across the globe like that is really good. So it was November 2007. What?
17.
No, that was the conference. No, where are we up to? 2019 it was where we actually formally formed. And of course then global COVID hit, and so we haven't been able to meet since, hence why tonight is such an important event for us tonight. So others are going to talk tonight about the conference, the book, how we got here, etc., etc. I'm going to back down now. As I said, very happy about this evening, and I'm going to hand over to Rob to talk about the conference itself.
Thanks, Andrea. That was very accurate and artful. Firstly, thanks Solo for my new high-vis Fijian shirt. I've never been to Fiji, but do all the blokes on the roads and the women in the fields wear these for safety? It's a beauty, isn't it? Andrew disagrees, but I've always thought of him as a person who loves mossy sports coats, and I think I eclipse him tonight, so that's unusual for any person. Firstly, I want to acknowledge...
Move closer to the microphone.
You can't hear me? Oh.
I can, but the rest of the lead can't.
Oh, okay. Firstly, do you want me to start again? No, I don't think so. Firstly, I want to acknowledge, as did Andrea, the Indigenous peoples of the world, and the closest in my sphere are the Yalukut Willem clan of the Bunurong from around Port Phillip, and also the Jaja Warung around St Arnaud. And I endorse our supporters. Firstly, ACIAR, which Michelle Nakamura and her boss Andrew, and anyone else from ACIAR? Huh?
Lucy.
Lucy is here too. So where's Lucy? Where?
Down there.
Hi Lucy. Sorry, I haven't met you before, up to now. And so Lucy, Andrew and Michelle represent ACIAR, and the Crawford Fund, long-time supporters, and also Rotaries, Royce and Jean Abbey found fellowship over many years, through Bob Edgar, by the way. Lately, Beyond Subsistence, which is based in Warragul. Anyone know where Warragul is? That's John Lambert, and also a big pardon? Yeah, good. And that is encouragement, I trust. By the way, if anyone tries to leave, there are a couple of blokes from the Wagner Foundation just at the door there, so you won't get out. And of course, Adelaide's Cane Foundation. They specialise in Uganda, and of course our good friend from New Zealand, Nick Edgar. Everyone knows where Nick is. Join in, Nick. Great to see you. And cheers again. Plenty of New Zealanders in Sydney. I've met about 3 of them today, but it's lovely to have you here, Nick. Thanks to ACIAR, 3 delegates have come here, and they're all representatives of Indigenous nations. Leo Soares from East Timor, Aloisi Dakua Draketi Hicks and colleague Selo Naguanavu from Fiji, and it's just great to have you here. As you know, I've been working to get you here. I missed in a couple of instances, but 3 out of 5, that's not bad by my standards, so usually about 1 out of 5. Now, the Nagoya Conference in 1997 saw a...
2017.
sorry. I'm trying to work out why I've got the word Melbourne here, but okay. 1997 was the Melbourne Conference, and there's a big contingent there, predecessors of trouble with my notes, are a bit terrible. Okay, big contingent at 1997, right? Got you there. 1997. Probably some of you weren't even born then, and and there's this big contingent at Melbourne from South Africa. That had been a Sue Marriott initiative, and she was helped by Mary Johnson and Vic Mack and myself. And so we had a really terrific and colourful group from South Africa. There were vendors there and Vortrekkers, there were Anglos and there were Zulus, A to Z, get it? And there were Horsa. Horsa is Miriam McCabe, X-H-O-S-A, Horsa, and Francis Stein. Anyone met Francis? What a delightful bloke. Melbourne 2006, I'm back in the swing of it now. It's Silk and Lal being me. We haven't got anyone from Lal here, have we?
No, they had a board meeting.
That's a pity. I
should have done a blanket apology from because they had a board meeting.
And we ran a masterclass with Julian Pryor and others who'd worked in South Africa, and 13 or so countries. My writing can be hard to read after 3 beers in in Sydney. Doesn't it feel like Broome? It's just what a marvellous place it is. Right, so now Nagoya. Okay, I'm onto the theme, and it won't be long, another couple of minutes. When working for Lal in the late 2000s, I heard about Mick Seigel's work in Japan, and his great friend and colleague Kazuki Kagahashi will expand on this later. So they visited annually, that's Kaz and Mick, with lots of students, and I got to know them pretty well. And by the way, these years also included visiting students and others, in fact. Remember Jenny Queerley suddenly, at 1 minute's notice, took half a minute's notice probably, took over a group that was stranded in Sydney and gave them the experience of their life in the hinterland. And so we worked very closely. And Mick, I think, came up with the idea of why not have a conference. And then I think he found the funds to convene a meeting in Nagoya to plan things. So Alan Dale went, Andrea went, Jen went, I went, and it was a terrific experience, and we got on really well. And aside, for those who haven't been there, Japan is a really delicious and delightful country to visit. And we met in Nick's office at Nanzan University in Nagoya, and Mick couldn't believe his luck when he met Alan, could he? Remember Jen? He said, geez, a fellow academic. And I said, they talk the same language. I can just remember the delight on his face. And the meeting went really well. It was marred by one thing. Donald Trump won the primaries, and it was pretty depressing. We were really surprised. We couldn't believe it. And our surprise was merited, wasn't it, in that respect? So we raised funds from creatively from Nanzan University, that's Mick and also Kaz's stronghold, and the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and that's my old boss and mate Matt Reddy, who's a terrific bloke. I got an email from him last week from San Salvador, and with the fish cocktail that he was enjoying in a bar. He's in Washington DC, works for the World Bank, so he's upwardly mobile, as they say. And Matt got the money for us, 10,000 Swiss francs. It's a bit of a thrill to get a cheque for 10,000 Swiss francs. Felt like an international criminal. Felt like an oligarch. And then the Australia-Japan Foundation, which has been really good to us. We've actually got more money to do an agroforestry exchange tour with Kaz, but of course COVID stepped in the way. With a bit of luck, we're going to do it next March. Rowan Reid and Andrew Stewart, and also Annabelle Cater from up the Barrington Tops, whom I've never met, but that's our group. And we maybe there's room for a few more people. So you can imagine then it was a memorable and agreeable conference. And besides its great degree of agreement amongst the delegates, so we all sort of got together, we sort of felt at home and felt amongst friends. Plus there was a pub over the road, which is an absolute beauty. Japanese pubs are far better than the blood houses I used to frequent as a youth, and it was just so delightful and sociable. And there was outside every day there was a gang of arborists at work on the street trees. Now the Japanese are top topiarists. They sort of sculpt their trees as the French shear poodles. And it's sort of it looks like a Lego set actually, and so they gathered up every leaf. By the way, there was just nothing left afterwards. And at the finale, the standing ovation was so sincere. Mick experienced a sort of a near divinity experience, a sort of canonisation moment, and but he was so the community surged and clapped and cheered, and but he shared his thanks with all of us, the team that had got it together, including his own colleagues Taro and Karen. I've got Karen's name right?
That's right.
Correct. Huh? Correct. Yeah, good. So we just had a lot of fun and satisfaction working with our Japanese friends. It was hard to assess. It's hard to assess some conferences. Conferences like today. I mean, I'm already feeling it's going to be a really good one. But they combine culture and science and politics and technology tangibly. But there are many intangibles, and the friendships that develop are included. One interesting one in this case was that Mick and Andres Arnolds worked on extending the use of environmental themes and references and philosophies and action in religion. So that was just nice. It's particularly nice, I think Andrew will agree, because Andres Arnolds, your dear friend, our dear friend, was the person you worked with to introduce Landcare to Iceland. So Andrew, in fact, was the first. It's like St Patrick in a way, you know. He took Landcare to Iceland. That great tradition of. Did you go in a whaleskin boat or something, Andrew? It's like something from Borgen, isn't it? But I'll leave it to you. Maybe you'll refer to it. But that was just one of the lovely things that came out. I remember Mick saying, Andres and I are talking, and we just think we can get together and we can sort of, further sort of that aspect of Christianity. That's kind of stuff.
That's the microphone, Rob.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yeah, time.
Time for an Anglican hymn. What would you like me to sing? I crave one indulgence. I mentioned Mick's delight at meeting Al, professor to professor, cerebrum to cerebrum. And in my long experience of Landcare, one thing I particularly loved was to see this, and I know you'll agree, Andrew, an academic paper attributed to the researcher and the farmer. And it happened quite a bit where we bring science and practical experience together and everyone's treated equal. And the Nagoya experience was exactly that, bringing together the academics and the practitioners in a very sort of fluid and productive environment. So thanks to everyone. Thanks for your indulgence. Do you want an encore or I move them to the podium?
We'll introduce Kaz. Bring Kazuki Kakahashi, our board member, and great friend to Mick Seigel.
Okay, good evening everyone. I came from Japan, and I'm Kazuki Kagohashi, and working at Nanzan University Institute for Social Ethics. Please allow me to read because I am a non-native speaker in English, but I hope it works well. First of all, I'm very excited to see the Landcare book is launched. This book was an outcome of the first international conference of Landcare Studies, which was held in Nagoya in 2017. And as the book was what Michael Seigel had longed for many years, so I'm very glad to see that happen. And on behalf of the Nanzan University Institute for Social Ethics, I would like to show our gratitude to those who have made enormous contributions to it. First, I would like to thank the editors of the book. Alan took over the role from Michael, who sadly passed away in 2019. Thank you very much, Alan, for your great work, for putting everything together. Also, I would like to thank Andrew and ACIAR for their generous support toward publishing. The printed book is so beautiful. I love it. Second, I was very fortunate to be able to work as a member of the steering committee of the International Conference in 2017. And thank you, Rob, Andrea, Jen, Alan, for your intellectual input and unconditional support toward the success of the conference. As Andrea mentioned, Australian Landcare International and Nanzan University Institute for Social Ethics co-held the conference and invited speakers around the world, not only from Australia, but also from Philippines, Pakistan, United States, New Zealand, Uganda, and so on. Of course, we had many participants from Japan as well. The conference was filled with enthusiasm, like here. And the discussion was really fruitful. It brought about the energy to compile each presentation as a book over there. Without the contributions of the participants at the conference, this book would not bear fruit at all. So I would like to thank all the participants at the conference. And third, I want to thank Michael for getting me connected with Landcare. If I hadn't met him, I would not be here, and even I would not know anything about Landcare in Australia. Now I find myself immersed in Landcare. Talking about Landcare in Japan, it is not formally established yet. It's unfortunate, but Michael eagerly wanted to spread the approach and ideas of Landcare in the context of Japan. Someone told me that Michael used to say, now I found what I want to dedicate my life to in Japan. It's Landcare. That's what he said. Now I am taking over Michael's role and trying to start up the activities of Landcare. The context is very different between Australia and Japan, but I'll give it a crack. By the way, I came to Australia on August 8th, and we went on a tour in Melbourne, Canberra, and Sydney. And I met a guy who is a Landcare coordinator in Lithgow, and it was the other day, and I was impressed by what he said. Try to find the similarities, not the differences. So I was keeping on asking how can we establish Landcare in Japan, but I was really focused on the differences between Australia and Japan. But he mentioned that we need to look at the similarities. What is similar? What is the common? What is common between Australia and Japan? So I'll start my thinking toward that. And with that in mind, I will proceed my Landcare activities in Japan. I will. And I want to keep on learning from you and how I should launch Landcare in Japan. And as a member of Global Landcare, I'm looking forward to collaborating with you all. Well, words cannot explain or describe how grateful I am. I have been so fortunate, and I wish that the Landcare book will be referred to again and again around the world. And I am hoping to see the expansion of the Landcare network throughout the world. So thank you very much to all, and I want to dedicate this book to Michael. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kaz. Thanks, Andrew and team. I'm Alan Dale, the one who finally just kept it all together as a broad church, this book. And one of the things I'm going to particularly thank is, of the 31 chapters we probably have around about 40 to 50 authors in total across the integrity of the book. And as Rob was saying, in reality, it's a range of voices from practitioners right through to academics, which really sort of tells the story of Landcare. But I want to give the sense that this actually, in my view, is a baby of Cyclone Larry, Jenny. Oh, yes. Because in reality, at the time, part of the driver of the conference was Australia starting to experience some of these really significant climate-based events. So I'm a little North Queenslander, and I lived in a small town called Babinda in Mirrawinny, and we have not seen the range of Category 4-5 cyclones coming at us in the last 10 to 15 years. It's a dramatic increase, and we know that this is a sign of what we can expect under future climate conditions. Andrew had just been through some of these big experiences in relation to bushfires in southeastern Australia as well. So I think the call originally came from Jen on the back of that. And for that reason, I really thank Ali, Rob, Andrea for pulling all of this together and bringing me into that fold. But also that flows through into Mick and his real pickup of these agendas and the drive to take them forward. So Kaz, thanks for that. But I particularly want to thank the Centre for Social Ethics and Nanzan University. Kaz, Tara, Karin, all of you guys have driven the sort of drive of this ever since as well, which has been one of the reasons we finally got to the book itself. It couldn't have happened without ACIAR's support, and I really want to thank the co-editors Andrew and Jane, who really helped bring this together from the foundations that Mick set into a long-term book. And to support Michelle and Lucy and Lorna, we could not have done this without ACIAR's support. So I really just want to make that thanks. But this is a book about subsidiarity, and I'm so pleased that our greatest achievement is that Andrea can say it, and that she knows what it actually means. So I do want to spend a little bit of time about what the book is about, and effectively it is all about Landcare right across the globe. But I tend to think of these things that my early history is really tied up in Western Cape York and working with a lot of traditional owners, in Kawanyama, people like Yiront, traditional owners, Kokobeta and Tayo people, in Arakan with Wickwonkan people. And people have got a very clear view of this concept of subsidiarity. So traditional owners in Western Cape York see themselves as stewards of land. They are landholders, land managers, and stewards of country. And what they expect is not just that they're there to do that alone, they expect to be able to do that with partners at many levels. So subsidiarity is not about just doing everything on the ground, it's about empowering decisions at the right level, and usually for ground-based decisions that means in local communities, which is what the foundation of Landcare is all about. So people would say, we want our council to work with us as partners, to deliver infrastructure, to provide support, and to be with us along this journey of what we want to achieve as traditional owners in country. We'd want to work as traditional owners of Western Cape York with the state government to work through our rights and our interest in country. Not to be regulated to do things the state wants, but to be partners in managing and sustaining country together, in stewarding together. They'd expect the Commonwealth Government to be working to support that in a bigger strategic sense at the higher level. And they would expect the Australian population, if not the global world, to understand and support and really champion their role as stewards of country at that local scale. That's how traditional owners in Western Cape York used to think. And I just am so blessed by having those experiences early in life, because I think it brought to me a real understanding of subsidiarity. In Landcare, right across this country, that's exactly the same message I hear. Local communities, local landholders basically saying we are stewards, but we are not alone. We understand we're part of a bigger national and global context, I understand there are things we need to achieve for our nation and for our state and for the globe, but we can't do this as being viewed as regulated souls who are there to do the job for everybody else. We have to do that in partnership with our councils, our state, our nations and beyond. And the similarities are so great in my view, and it's one of the reasons I found it really easy to pick up the concept of subsidiarity as one of the things that drives me in life. So I particularly think it's all about the reality that many hands make light work. If we have national policies about biodiversity or about soil protection or about disaster management, that shit happens on the ground. And we cannot progress those policies without really having policy frameworks that are about getting all of the layers fundamentally right, but that are absolutely about trying to establish that capability there at the grassroots where things happen. On ground, on communities, in paddocks, and in the local context. This concept, though, is very important from a land care point of view, from soils, from vegetation, biodiversity, but this is applicable, and in my life, I see it play out in virtually every sector. In the disaster and disaster response and resilience sector, and I know that was a big driver for us at the conference. I see this play out in the youth and youth development, youth crime related agendas within communities. I see this play out in disease control, and we've all watched this happen in COVID over the last 2 years, that virtually every policy area we see, poverty reduction and poverty alleviation, same principles. If we respect all of the layers and fundamentally have policy settings that are about supporting those layers at the right scale to make the best decisions where it's appropriate, the many hands make light work and we achieve global change. And I think that's what the book sends a really solid political message about. And my hope, and I know my editorial team absolutely believe this as well, is that this is a call to arms for policy thinking that adopts subsidiarity at its heart. And this is what we hope is the legacy of the book, and it's why I've been so pleased to be able to stick with it and to have such a solid team of so many people helping us to get there. So to finish up on my side, at the end of the day, this is a book of 31 chapters, 50 stories almost, of subsidiarity related issues. And I most deeply want to thank the many authors who have stuck with us over the 4 years now, 5 years almost. And there's quite a few people here in the audience who are authors and co-authors. So I thank them most deeply, because that's what this book is about, to get those voices into a policy debate about subsidiarity at the national, if not global scale. So thanks for the opportunity, guys.
And that's why he's a professor. So well spoken. So just now's the moment. We're going to launch this book. I'm going to invite Andrew Campbell, CEO of ACIAR. Once again, thank you so much to ACIAR and the team for all the work they've put into creating this book. We couldn't have done it without you. We really know that. And as Alan has just said, it's such an important book, and it will become the basis of what we do for Global Landcare, and we've got a lot of work to do from here on in. So thanks, Andrew, and over to you.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Thanks, Al, for giving the intellectual architecture of the book. It was great, that Nagoya meeting. I enjoyed it very much. It's for me, it's an interesting thing that it's an Australian concept, Landcare, and it's started to emerge in different countries around the world, and is growing well in different countries, with, you'd have to say, negligible assistance from Australia. Not having a go at ALI or Silk or Global Landcare, but Landcare International has flourished almost despite Australia rather than because of Australia. And I'm really hoping that this book will be a turning point in that trajectory. As Alan has said, the notion that decisions need to be made at the right level, and as phenomena become more dynamic and more confronting and more unexpected, then it's more important that people at the local level know what to do, are empowered to do it, and are trusted by other levels to do so. Top-down, technocratic, centralised solutions are not going to get us where we need to go. Whether it's COVID, carbon, water, biosecurity, or water security, any other issue, we actually need the people who are making the everyday decisions to be not just competent, but empowered to make those decisions. And this eclectic collection of perspectives, as Al said, from 50 odd different people, from grassroots practitioners to very systemic academics, gives you a terrific menu of tools to work with. So I'm immensely proud that ACIAR has been able to assist in the production of the book. Thank you very much to Lucy for shepherding it through with colleagues in our production team, and it falls to me, I think, to officially launch the book. I think you could say that from an event in November 2017 to now, it's had a significant gestation, but I'm hoping that the timing is actually extremely fortunate. It's great that it's landed now, just when hopefully a new administration is looking for some new ideas. There's no way this new federal government can achieve its environmental objectives if it misses the community piece. And I think we've got a few pixels here of a beautiful big picture. And I'm looking forward very much to working with you all over coming days, weeks, months, and hopefully not years, to make sure that the ideas in this book have real traction, because if we don't, then we're going to muddle along, keeping being surprised by big events. Oh shit, another big bushfire. Bloody Lismore, let's put the houses back where they were before. It's a nonsense. So we have to think about different ways of doing things. And this book gives us a really good bunch of really hard-won insights from a lot of really experienced practitioners that points to a much more sensible and pragmatic, and dare I say it, Australian way forward. And the fact that people in the Philippines, in southern Mindanao, are using land care in a post-conflict situation to radically improve their food security and their catchment management and everything else, tells us this concept is extremely robust. The fact that it's working in so many different countries, in so many different cultural and political and agroecological contexts, tells us that this is a really solid idea, and we should be quite confident promoting it. So thanks everyone for contributing. It's an absolute pleasure to be here in this funky little bookshop in Glebe. Please come along tomorrow. There's copies here. My team has got bunches of copies for everyone who wants it, but if you miss out tonight, there'll be more again tomorrow. And the people who come along tomorrow will have to log into and subscribe to our newsletter to get a copy, but tonight you can just walk out with bags full. So I'd strongly encourage you to do that, and I have enormous pleasure in launching Building Global Sustainability Through Local Self-Reliance, Lessons from Landcare.
Okay, so thanks everybody. That concludes the festivities for tonight. Just those who are going to the conference, a reminder that Global Landcare panel to discuss the book is on Wednesday at 11:55. So if you can come along to this panel, that would be
I'll get on
fantastic.
the other side, please.